Hello everyone, my name is Hakim and this is Lab 1 MEB2043 Fluid Mechanics. Over the last week we have covered Chapter 2 and within that chapter we discussed on the use of manometer, Archimedes principle and also hydrostatics. And for this lab I'm focusing on Archimedes principle, the eureka that defined physics. Now, my first lab stresses the importance of Archimedes' principle, whereby it states that an object immersed in fluid experiences a buoyant force that is equal in magnitude to the force of gravity displaced in the fluid. Well, this principle revolved around the story whereby he screamed or he shouted "Eureka, Eureka" after he noticed that the water level rose after he submerged part of his body into the water, and that's how this principle came into picture. And it is important for every student or every individual to understand this basic concept because it plays a major role in fluid statics. The objective of the experiment is to stress Archimedes' interaction, which involves two reciprocal forces, as defined in Newton's third law. According to Archimedes' principle, there will be an upward force acting on the submerged body. For this experiment, the force will be in downward direction to interpret what happens to the scale supporting the vessel. In terms of its methodology, a vessel is first filled with water and is put on a scale. The red sign then indicates the weight of the system, which is the beaker and the vessel and the water. Then a ball of plasticine or any object that you have in the house hanging down from a thread it is completely immersed without touching the bottom of the vessel. The new position of the red indicator shows that the plate of the scale is now in a lower position, which means a larger value of the weight will be indicated by the scale. On this slide, there are two figures for the setup. The figure on the left hand side shows the setup for this experiment, and the figure on the right hand side shows what happens during the experiment. Notice the red sign indicator, the red indicator on the scale on both figures. The figures on the left hand side, the red sign indicator indicates the weight of the system, which is the water and the beaker. On the right hand side, the red indicator indicates the weight of the total system, which includes the weight of the ball and the weight of the system. Now, for result and discussion, notice how the experiment has been conducted twice to improve the accuracy of the calculation. And in the table, the mass of beaker and the water, or the mass of the system, is different for both trials. And many have claimed that when an object is immersed in a closed container, the weight of the system stays the same. However, through this experiment, the belief has been proven to be false. The belief that a body exerts its weight on its support or whatever the situation is wrong. In the experiment, the reading of the scale indicates the weight of the system, which is the water and the beaker. And as the body is slowly submerged into the beaker, the weight on the scale increases since the weight of the system with the ball is larger than the weight of the system. In order to analyze the situation, it might be said simply that when the ball is immersed, there is an additional downward force acting on the water due to Newton's third law. Therefore, a force acting on the system, the water, the vessel, and the scale. The force is equal to the weight of the water, and it is equal in volume to that of the ball, hence the increased scale reading. Note that the value of the scale reading is not the weight of any object or group of objects that will be present in the experimental setting. For a slightly more formal and detailed analysis, a diagram, which is on the right hand side, with a dislocated display of the involved objects may be shown. For more clarity, the forces are just referred to the objects involved in each interaction, with no particular reference to the point on which these forces are supposed to be acting. Note that the Newtonian balance of forces on the system clearly goes with a force on the scale that is larger than before immersion. Avoiding to separate water and vessel in this analysis permits not to mention the various forces due to atmosphere that cancel out, which means that it would neglect the Archimedes interaction between the vessel and the atmosphere, and it would cancel out the interaction between the bottom of the vessel and the water. Thank you.